back live again with the Wagner Knows Episode 8 edition. Of course, we're going to go over the gaming environment as a whole. And of course, the star of the gaming environment right now has to be Insomniac. Insomniac is that developer coming out with a new game. And that is, of course, going to put all eyes on Insomniac. And it's about one of the biggest characters in comic book history. That has to be Wolverine. And if you're an X-Men fan, you're absolutely hyped about this. But if you're someone that knows Insomniac gaming, you kind of have a small sense of doom over this game, because you know Wolverine should be a good game. It's based on an action-packed character, but this is coming from a studio that simply does not like action-packed characters, at least not anymore. And I think that's the overall feeling we're seeing here with Wolverine and everything surrounding this character with Insomniac Games. And that's just one of the topics we're going to be talking about today. I have to talk about what's happening with Wolverine, and the things that we're seeing here are a bit concerning with Wolverine. But that's just our first topic. Other topics, we'll go over Marvel Rivals. Actually the #1 game on Steam right now, which is a big deal if you're beating out Counter-Strike, and it's all happening because they're not following the industry standards. And I think this is a dichotomy we're seeing between a Wolverine game that is trying to follow industry standards and a Marvel Rivals that's not doing that, and it's having extreme success. Even I'll bet people are calling it racist and having all those negative connotations attached to it. It doesn't matter. They're making the money that they need, and they're getting the attention they deserve. And of course, this is the tale of two games right now, and I think that's the thing I'm feeling with the situation in the gaming industry. Of course, we have more things happening in the gaming industry than that. We have Halo being canceled, not Halo the game, but a pivotal figure to Halo being canceled at his own convention and kicked out because he has the wrong ideas. And this is kind of the trend we've been seeing in the gaming industry so often. And I think that's the thing I feel when I see some of these situations play out, where you're like, okay, they're really kicking people out if they just have the wrong ideas, and it's still happening in the gaming industry. And this is supposed to be a time where the gaming industry is changing, or just entertainment in general, because the politics are being made aware by the people. Like, hey, we don't like these certain people getting kicked out, but they're still being kicked out. And I think that's what's happening with Halo, and it seems to be continuing on. Beyond that, we have Saber Interactive that is getting in a little bit of AI trouble. The same trouble that we see a lot of people complaining about in the gaming industry. Saber Interactive seemingly doesn't care. It's like, we're doing what we do, and we're going to fire you, and we don't care about what's happening in your sphere of the gaming world. So that's kind of interesting to see. Some of these game developers are becoming kind of base. They're like, we don't care. We're gonna use AI. We don't need to hear anything from you. We're gonna do what we want. And I think that's kind of an interesting change that we're seeing in the industry today. Outside of that, we're going to look at a bunch of videos that I find interesting. We got an interesting Capcom video. We're going to look at Psyop anime. He's been doing a lot of stuff in the game sphere recently. He's probably getting a lot of attention for that. So he's making a lot of more AI animation. So we're gonna have like a little AI animation corner. I know people might not like that, but that's the best form we're seeing where AI is being used in animation, where I think it's actually having use cases. And I like seeing Psyops animes because it really feels like it's well made. It feels like something that, hey, they put effort into this, and it's actually consistent. So I like seeing his animations. They're probably usually the best form so far. I haven't seen any live action animation that caught my attention, so that's unfortunate, but we're going to watch some of those animations. Of course, we'll go over some topics that are happening out there in the world today. Jason Arday, that was a case I was paying attention to just recently, and just recently that the person behind the scandal at Cambridge, if you don't know anything about it, Cambridge scandal, a guy got a PhD lying through his teeth, and they summarily obviously found out he was lying, but the university protected him because, hey, diversity, DEI, we need to protect this person. That led to a massive controversy. He eventually resigned, and now he kind of unalived himself. I know people don't like hearing that unalive word. Unfortunately, we're on YouTube. We got to say these weird words. But yeah, he was found dead in his property. So it was just like, whoa, that's a big conversation. And I wanted to go over this because it's just something fresh in my mind. I was just looking at it. So we'll look at that near the end of the show. We got so much other content we're going to look at, especially if you have any requests you want to put out there. Just make a donation. I'll watch the video or any topic you want to specifically go over. So we're that type of show. You can donate something, and we'll go on to that topic a little bit, skim it over. And I think that's just our table slate for today. I'm gonna go through all this content. And hopefully you guys stay by and you can contribute, you can talk, you can donate, you can do anything. You can put some comments, you put some fresh topics. I like to interact with the people here. It'll be fun, and I really like streaming on Friday. It's my favorite day to look forward to the streaming day. So I'm excited to see people in the faces that are popping up. Hopefully you guys stay with me throughout this time period today. But we'll get into our first topic. It seems like people are ready for the first topic. Let me get a sip. All right, it's time for Wolverine. I know people are thinking, what? Yeah, I'm excited. Wolverine is back. And that's my feeling just hearing about this concept of the game of Wolverine. I'm a person that played the Wolverine game over 15, 16 years ago on the PlayStation. So that is the game I'm looking forward to the most. At least when I was younger, that would have been the case. But that's just simply not the case right now. It's just not right now. That's not the case. Let me look at the comments. What's up, Aegis Chaos? Beta-reen. I think that is the best description of the situation here. Beta-reen. He's the most beta-looking version of Wolverine I've ever seen. I was trying to hold myself back when I was seeing different shots of him. I was like, okay, maybe something else. Maybe I have to hear him talk. I have to hear the dialogue. But from what I've been seeing, this new gameplay footage, he is everything I don't want Wolverine to be. And he's doing everything I expected him to do from a Sweet Baby in game. And I think that is the one consistent thing that we keep seeing in the gaming industry today. And I think everything bad about gaming is being expressed by this Wolverine game. And I think that's the thing that is astonishing me. Where I shouldn't be astonished. Just Sweet Baby Inc. It's the modern day gaming industry. It's these California studios. This is the type of game they make. They make cutscene slop. They make these aggressively mid games with no personality or character, and the experience is hollow and empty. And that's what people are feeling with this new Wolverine game. And I think that's a thing I'm feeling from seeing just some of the cutscenes and the overall makeup of this game, where it just doesn't feel like it's a game made for the gamer anymore. It feels like it was made for a human resource department who wanted to see a checklist of characters and character traits. And I think this is the thing that I see most precisely in this overall scene between Sabretooth and Wolverine, where it feels like, hey, these guys sound like some undercover down low guys meeting each other and having a conversation. And I'm like, what is this feeling I'm getting from these characters? These characters feel a little bit fruity now. They don't feel like the characters that I remember from the past. And I think that's the thing I'm feeling mostly from this game, where it just doesn't feel like the Wolverine game I wanted to play. It feels like a kind of a cheap imitation of the old school Wolverine games I played, even the Nintendo Wolverine games. I think it feels like it's pretending to be Wolverine. And I think that's the thing I'm getting from a lot of the views and at least this particular gameplay, where I know people are looking at the blood. I was tricked by the blood too. I was like, hey, he's cutting people up. But when you see people play this game, it's kind of like you don't really need to be there to play the game. It's one button smashing game, where it just doesn't seem consistently difficult, and it seems like it's something more made as a story format rather than anything made for a game player to get involved with. And that shouldn't be a surprise if you're looking at the modern day video gaming industry, specifically coming from California, Santa Monica Studios with God of War, Insomniac, you see with Naughty Dog. These games are being increasingly Hollywoodified, and I think that's what we're seeing with Insomniac here, where it doesn't feel like the game can go any further because it's trying to be a game for everyone. And I think that's what we see with Wolverine, where Wolverine doesn't feel like it's even trying to be a game anymore. It feels like it's trying to be something that could be played by everyone for every circumstance. And here it is, it's bloody. I think that's the thing a lot of people are being sold on, and I'm still kind of sold on it. I'm like, hey, he's cutting people up. This Wolverine. He's still Wolverine to me. I feel like a person that was hearing a wrestler saying it's fake. I'm like, no, it's still Wolverine. And this is the cheesiest That has to be the cheesiest scene we saw right there. That double trigger quick time event kind of personifies modern day gaming right there. Press L2, R2. Am I really even doing anything? He was going to do that regardless, even if I didn't press those buttons. And I think that's a symbolic gesture of what modern day gaming is, where everything is choreographed. You don't really need to do anything, and it's just kind of some fake facsimile of playing a game. And I think that's the thing that we see here, and I don't really like that about this game at all. And I think this is something I felt from Spider-Man 2, where I felt like, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm Spider-Man, but not really. It feels like the animations are pre-recorded. You don't have that much control over the character's movements. And I think that's what we see with these cool leaps, where it goes like, oh yeah, maybe it looks cool, he's diving in, but it's kind of like auto aim, really. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. He's going directly to the character and killing them instantly. So it's just like, okay, we're not even really playing here. It's just, these are just animations playing out, and it's not really the game I think it is. And I think that's the thing I had a trepidation about for the longest when it came to this game. I was like, okay, is this on the rails? It doesn't feel like it's a game that is fully functional to the way that a lot of people want this game to be. They're acting like this is the Wolverine game from 2007. It's not really. And I think the most egregious thing that we see right now has to be this scene right here. I was waiting for this scene, where you're chasing down a spy and he's like farting out some red mist so you can follow him. And I think that's the best example we're seeing of journalistic gameplay attributes. So of course you have the yellow paint, and now we have farting red gas from people you have to chase after. And it's just kind of this hand holding that we see from modern day gaming, especially California games. And it seems like it's such a consistent part of this type of gaming environment, where it's just like, oh man, we're doing this again, where the game is so easy, where it's not really replayable, it's not really functional beyond anything that you play for the first few hours, so it gets redundant. Yeah, Agents of Chaos from the makers of Spider Soy is the best and apt title for this. And I think that's the thing I'm feeling from this right now. I'm like, oh my god, this is everything I did not want to see from this game. Let's put some audio on it. Let's see the scene from its entirety.
The hell? Time for this. Doesn't this feel good? I know you missed this. That's a good hit for you. Not even close.
See, this is the part where the relationship between Sabretooth, they put some underlying gay stuff between these characters, where he's like, you feel it, you love it. It's just like, okay, man, the way you're sounding is kind of bit just fruity a bit where you're talking about. I know Sabretooth always has this conversation, but it's not as intimate as they're making it out to be. And I think that's the thing I feel from these writers, and it's something I have to kind of see from these writers, because they are Sweet Baby Inc. writers. If you don't know, Sweet Baby Inc. was heavily involved in the overall production process of this Wolverine game, and I think that's where a lot of people are having a problem with this game, where you can see the corniness kind of ooze out in the dialogue.
You came back. Where are the others?
Man, this derpy Wolverine, that's the thing I can't really handle, because this just doesn't look like Wolverine. He legitimately looks like a hobbit or something from some fantastical world. He doesn't look like Wolverine here.
You do the dirty work as usual.
And he looks too harmless as well. But here's the scene that a lot of people were complaining about. When I saw this scene, I was legitimately thinking, are they serious? They're really doing some 1992 game boss scenario, some Metal Gear Solid 1 game boss material? And that is what we're exactly seeing in the gameplay. And this is the stereotype a lot of people were talking about. Like, what's happening? is this game even finished, or are they not even making the sort of game that the gaming audience could actually find as something fresh and new? This looks all too old and dated. What's up, Human User 1? Welcome back. Yeah, that's what I get from the ambiguously gay duo. I feel that from the it looks like that's SNL skit. The Sabretooth and Wolverine. I'm like, what is this conversation? And I think when you look at the writers of Sweet Baby Inc., they like putting these little details in the game. They think they're getting one over the gamers. Like, haha, we did this to this core relationship. You're not even going to notice. But no, I notice instantly. You ruined this relationship between these two characters. But oh yeah, that's the COD boss. You're right, Human User on the recent Call of Duty game. He had a gigantic man too. Now, what is going on with Western game devs? They're pulling from 1990s games. Well, let's see this terrible boss.
Fucking robot to stop us! If you say so. Your Sentinel can take anything you throw at.
Well, that was easy. But yeah, that's the thing about this. It's just you see all the bad parts of the gaming industry. And oh, this scene is the scene I had to put. This is the Quirk Chungus moment of the decade right here. They really made Wolverine Logan a Quirk Chungus character. If you don't know what I mean, just you feel the corniness of the writing kind of just spill over, where the writer is so self-conscious and happy with what he wrote that you see it in the actual actor's face, where he has the smugness of the writer just showing on his face. And I think this is what you see the scene in the I think this is what you seen here at the helicopter. I'm a writer and I'm corny and this is what I wrote. That's what you feel from this scene. And that's when I saw this scene, I was like, that's not Wolverine. That's a Sweet Baby Inc. writer. They love what they wrote here, and it's trash, but they love it. He just looks corny here. I'm like, what is this? I just felt the millennial writing right there. I know he does this in the movies sometimes, but it's done by an actor that just has that figure where it's like, okay, this is that actor. This guy just doesn't have that charisma with him. He doesn't have that charisma. Yeah, I agree with you, Agents of Chaos. These scenes are killing me. I had some hope with this game, even though I figured it would end up like this, but I didn't know it would be this kind of corny right now. It had all the signs there, and you kind of already know where the story's going. It's going to be some ice allegory where everyone's trying to stop the illegal mutants. And it is cutscene slop. It feels like cutscene slop for the most part. And I love whoever came up with cutscene slop. That is the word of the decade. It doesn't feel like a game you really need to play, and I think that's what a lot of people are feeling. And I think it's sad because I like all the violence that I'm seeing. I like the kind of world they're trying to build, but it doesn't feel like a world I would actually enjoy. And I think that's the thing a lot of people are feeling. Let's see this dialogue. I didn't see this scene here with Mystique. I'm guessing there's gonna be some more corny dialogue. Let's see what's going on. And we know Mystique, she's gonna have a gigantic man jaw. We already know that's the character. She's gonna be like his auntie, and she's gonna be complaining. That's my guess. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see.
Okay.
About time you caught up. Where's Sabretooth?
He's sleeping off his fight with a Mega Red.
Found his cell. Don't waste time.
I don't like the voice acting was pretty bad on Mystique as well. It's kind of like that terrible Ada Wong, the new version of Ada Wong. It's kind of that flat, no talent actor voice. They probably got some non-gendered focused person for that. I'm thinking that's what they do with these characters. They got a talentless actor that fit the gender stereotype, and I think that's what they probably did with the Mystique. Same thing they did with Ada Wong. Ada Wong, they had a terrible actress. They just got her because she was Asian, and that was it, and she couldn't act. So it was just like, okay, what are you doing? Just get a good actress first. And that's kind of just the situation we've been seeing in the gaming industry. I think we've seen enough of this, but like I said, this looks like an aggressively mid to boring game, and I think that is the thing I'm feeling. There's gonna be no replay value. There's gonna be no value at all for the people that are just really excited to playing something that they can repeatedly play again and again. And I think that's what we got from the Spider-Man 1 game. It was a game that we could really play repeatedly, instantly, almost every occasion. We can get back into that game. Much less so with Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, I can't even play that game again. It's just terrible. So it was a bad experience. I think this is at that level where it's going to be a game where we can't even really play again. And I think that is the thing people are feeling. Do I want to pay $70 for a game that I play for 10 hours and just watch for half the time and maybe press one button? I think that is the bargain for gamers nowadays. That's the deal they have to make with the gaming industry. Like, they have to wonder, do I play this game for 10 hours and then 10 hours I may have some enjoyment, maybe 4 hours I may have some enjoyment, then the rest I'm just kind of repeating over and over again. It becomes like a job just to finish this game because I paid $50 for it, so I have to finish it. I think that's how I feel with a lot of new games that have been coming out recently, where it's like, hey, I paid money for this, so I don't care how stupid Wolverine looks, I have to finish this game. And I think that's a thing a lot of people have been feeling with a lot of games that have been coming out, where I'm just like, I feel obligated to finish these games. I think mostly for Western games, that's my general feeling, where I'm like, I paid money for this, I should finish this game, and it becomes like a job. And I think this is the sort of game that's going to have that feeling. It's not going to be enjoyable, at least not for like the last 7 hours or so. I'm thinking I'm just finishing this game because I'm finishing it, and it doesn't even have a good story to go along with it. Some games in the past where it felt like a work or a job to play those games, they had good stories, and those good stories can carry you through. But the story is just some modern day ice allegory slop stuff that we're getting as usual from these developers. It's not going to really be entertaining enough to push you through. And you can just see with some of these images, you already know we're getting Auntie Mystique, and she's probably having her own whatever same gender relationship. We already know we're getting Auntie Jean. That's just the character design in general. We're getting her. She's going to be bossy Auntie. And we're going to have this kind of weird and awkward relationship with Wolverine. And it's just like, this is not the X-Men that I'm looking forward to. It's not the Jean Grey I'm looking forward to. And there's one next door that is the absolute version of Jean Grey I'm hyped about. Of course, I'm talking about Marvel Rivals version. It's just, when you have those comparisons so stark and obvious, even with the Spider-Man Brand New Day movie, you see a Jean Grey that is not even really the Jean Grey we remember, but is closer to their actual appeal than what we're seeing from the Wolverine game. It's just harder and harder to buy this game as an X-Men game. And I think that is the thing people are seeing with a lot of the attributes. This is the thing that is just not selling us in general. You can see the Sweet Baby Inc. influence with just the way the characters in the background are implemented. You have gigantic obese people in the background. You have LA kind of purple green hair people in the background. It's just like, this is a game that was made by people that simply don't like gaming, and they have agendas. And I think that agenda is made clear to a lot of people that are kind of used to it by now. I'm used to it by now. So I was expecting this, but even then I'm just kind of shocked that they went through with it, and they're not ashamed about it. They're just like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to fill the background with the standard DEI backdrop and everything. We're going to have aunties everywhere. There's gonna be bossing around. We're gonna have latent homosexual kind of conversations between male characters. We're gonna do all this stuff that you hate, and you're gonna buy it. That's their expectation, and I'm just like, oh, come on, man. You're supposed to be smarter than this, and that is not the case. They're not. They're trudging along. Yeah, the cinematics, they feel like they just probably copy and pasted from movies. I think you're right, Human User 1. They should hire someone blue to voice Mystique. If they did that, then I'll go kudos. Sorry, you actually sticking to your values there, Insomniac. Yeah, this version is not really selling Agents of Chaos. Yeah, it looks like a copy of like a different character. It doesn't look like the Mystique that we remembered. I'm like, it just doesn't look like the Mystique that I'm used to. I'm like, and it's just them always auntifying these characters. I think that's a verb we can use now, auntifying. We're gonna auntify these characters, okay? They may look hot. They may look hot, young, and under. They may look hot and young, but we're gonna make them look like they're older and auntified. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeing with these characters out here. But here it is. We have that Sweet Baby Inc. connection right there, where they were listed as a contributor to Insomniac Games. Sweet Baby Inc. actually posted that, hey, we're so excited. We're going to bring Wolverine and Spider-Man 2 to life, and that's what we're seeing. And I think we're going to see Sweet Baby Inc. throughout these next, at least to the end of the decade. No one's going to stop using them, especially California studios. I think they're hard-pressed not to use them. So maybe only the ones outside of America are going to avoid them, but I think a lot of studios in America are still going to be Sweet Baby Inc. linked, because there's a lot of connections and money and support from the gaming journalistic class if you do that. And you're seeing that support online with Wolverine. Nothing but positive reactions, at least from the journalists, and they're excited about it, and they know it's being made by their own ilk, the people that they support that have similar ideals. And I think that's what you get when you have a Sweet Baby Inc. consultancy firm at your back pocket. They spread the news that, hey, these people are of the similar values and philosophies, so support them. That's how fickle, that's how kind of the exchange happens and works. And I think that's why Sweet Baby Inc. still maintains a lot of clout in the industry, because you can exchange their influence for money, and that money transfers into positive press. And I think that's what we're seeing with Wolverine right now. The positive press is spreading regardless of the cheap looks and narratives behind it. And I think that's the thing a lot of players are already noticing with a lot of these games. We're noticing that, hey, these games already look terrible. But if you're not paying attention, you're going to just see the positive reviews from IGN, previews, everything that's saying, hey, this game is great, this game is good. And I think it's going to get an 8, at least standard-wise. Even if it's a terrible game, it's going to get an 8 from all those top institutions because of that connection to Sweet Baby Inc. And I think that's the thing a lot of people are showing right now. And this is a kind of a picture I saw that kind of makes it really shows that they really stole all of PS5's, not all of PS5, all of Sony's exclusive styles of gameplay. They just smashed it together and put it in Wolverine. It's kind of an amalgamation of everything that's wrong with Sony right now, where they just took everything that Sony does and smashed it into one game. It feels like they didn't even know where to go with this game. They said, hey, just look at God of War, look at Uncharted, hey, let's look at Last of Us, let's put some of that, let's get Troy Baker in there, Ghost of Tsushima, let's put that in there, the Horizon, they just took bits and pieces of every single Sony game and kind of smashed it into a Wolverine game. It's just showing the creativity loss in the industry, and I think that's a real deal problem in the industry. Creativity has sunk to new lows, and I think that's what people are feeling with the PlayStation, where the PlayStation seems aimless and understandably doesn't know how to make a proper game for the gaming audience anymore. And I think when you have gaming titles that look like this, people call the PlayStation a woke station. that is essentially the case, where they only know how to make these games. And that's why when I see Wolverine, it looks like a bit of God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, Spider-Man. They just threw it all in the mix, and that's the only style Western gaming seems to know. And I guess we can call it cinematic slop. I think that's probably the best title for it. Yeah, Auntie Deathstrike, especially after coming off last time I saw Deathstrike was the X-Men movie, so coming off of that and seeing this, I'm like, what the heck did they do to Deathstrike? Yeah, Wes is afraid. They're afraid of femme fatales, bombshells, anything that's attractive, and you can see it with the PlayStation exclusives. It's just like, if PlayStation doesn't do anything, it's going to be hard to see. It's just really going to be hard to see where they go from here. If they don't know how to make these exclusive properties anymore, it's going to be a disgrace for them right now. And it seems like they learned nothing from Stellar Blade, Ages of Chaos. It's just nothing was learned from that overall development process. But oh well, Wolverine, not looking like the game it was meant to be, but it should be obvious. And look at the character comparisons here. Like, if they had the Wolverine up top, that looks like a more like sort of masculine version of the Wolverine. This is the Wolverine I remember. If they kind of had this kind of look to him, he doesn't look like a dwarf in the top picture right there. He looks really like the aggressive masculine version of Wolverine that we're used to. And it's these small subtle changes that you notice, like where they take these male characters, they soften them up, kind of give them this sort of metrosexual look where it just doesn't even feel like, hey, that's not the character exactly. And I think that's what we see with this character, where he just looks like a soft-spoken dwarf from Twilight or something. He looks like a dwarf from Twilight. I know there's no dwarfs in Twilight, but there's wolves there, so there's probably some dwarfs in that franchise, and I think he looks like a dwarf from Twilight or something. The video game version. The top version is the fan-made version. That looks like the Wolverine I remember, and I think that's why every scene he's in, he just looks soft. He doesn't look like the aggressive character. But enough of that. We see the comparisons people are making to Ben 10. There's people are saying, I played this game like 20 years ago. What are we doing here? And I like the comparisons that we're seeing here. People are saying, how do they make a better Mystique 25 years ago than the one they're making right now? And that is the obvious case that we're seeing right now. People are making fun of this game. They're rightfully making fun of this game, and I can't blame them. This is just truly the bottom of the bin right here in gaming, and I think we're experiencing it all together right here. But let's move on a bit. We talked about this enough. Let's go on. Oh, this is another picture. Everyone is drawing up every single game that looked like this in the past 20 years with this boss fight. Oh, even Lego games have this boss fight. Got Sonic. Got Ratchet and Clank. Of course, God of War. You have Gears of War. So much. I know people are going to say, well, it's a video game. It's doing video game stuff. Well, okay, man. Still, you can do something unique. Here's that one button gameplay that we're seeing right now. And this is what I felt. This is what I felt was happening with this game. Like, you won't have to press too much to play this game. And I know people are gonna say, "Hey, they're just trying to make the action," but I think make it actually have a fail state where things are getting in your way and you can fail. I'm like, make it difficult. But that's where that journalistic knack of saying, "Hey, you want people that don't play games to play this game and enjoy it," and in order, if you do that, you're putting yourself in the position of making a game that gamers don't want to play. And I think that's the thing I'm seeing here, where it's just like, I don't want to play this game. This feels like busy work. It feels like something you give a child to play, and I'm not a child, so I know people gonna say it's video games. You are childish, but whatever. I want something difficult to play. Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Alright, that's enough. Oh, here's that Quirk Chungus smirk they gave him. And that's why I say he's a Quirk Chungus Wolverine. They gave him the Pixar, the DreamWorks smirk right here. Where I'm like, okay, this is the millennials.
We don't need you.
This is the millennial smirk they gave him. And kind of the Quirk Chungus smile right there. I'm like, what the heck? But whatever, man. We'll leave it at that. I've been bagging on Wolverine too long. We gotta move on. We gotta move on into bigger and better things, you know? The bigger the better, and the more amazing the success is. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Marvel Rivals. And I know people are talking about, what are you talking about? Marvel Rivals is doing okay, right? Yeah, it's doing better than okay. It's doing fantastic. And I think that's the thing a lot of people didn't expect after a couple years of its release. They expected to just fall down to the wayside in the background, and I expected that as well. Even though I was playing it a lot, and playing it, I wouldn't say a no-lifer, I play it a lot. I never expected it to be this kind of controversial, or even more than anything, this to have this much staying power. And I think it having this much staying power is more than anything dependent on its actual play, and not just its play, but I think more than anything, its dedication to the gaming audience. And I think you see that with the summer skins. And I know people are gonna say, what are you talking about? Summer skins, how is that dedication to the fan audience? Hey, it's making something the fans actually want to buy and play. And I think that's what we see with the summer skins and the actual models and character design choices. And I think that is a kind of a testament and the opposite thing that we're seeing happening in the gaming industry. While we see all the Wolverines and the Last of Us and Intergalactics, these type of games that are taking the opposite end of that trend of making everything ontified and kind of ugly to look at. And I think this is the opposite. They're making things beautiful here. And I think that's what we're seeing with Marvel Rivals. It's doing the opposite trend that gamers rarely see nowadays in the industry. We don't see this too often anymore, but we've seen it a little bit more from Korea and China. We see your First Ascendant that started the summer skin craze, but Marvel Rivals is taking it and running in for a touchdown right now, and it's actually getting the benefits of making a game like this, where in the past this game wouldn't last that long and it wouldn't have that much of those skins that we see right now. It would be like we saw of past games like Concord. If it was made 10 years ago, if they made this game 10 years ago, it would be like that Marvel Adventures game that focused on Miss Marvel, the stretchy character, rather than a popular character. I think that's the thing that we saw in the past when it came to these games, where the games were crippled by the creative team. And that's not the case with Marvel Rivals. It's actually being enhanced by the creative team because they're listening to the gaming audience, and we're seeing that play out with some sort of positivity in the overall rankings of the game. And that's why we see this Summer Skins Wave 2 is massively popular, even with some of the controversies surrounding these skin attachments, where people have their complaints, but people are playing these games. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing happening right now, where Marvel Rivals is the top seller on Steam, and that is not a small feat. For the past, I think, few years, the top seller has always been Counter-Strike 2. It's been selling like crazy. You see the Counter-Strike numbers. It's just astonishing to see Counter-Strike still maintaining over 1 million players daily, just never going down. That's just showing the actual apex of that game right there. Was number one for 731 weeks. That is crazy. And that is just the situation we keep seeing in the gaming industry, where we have these old games just kind of lording over these new games. But that's not happening right now. Marvel Rivals Rivals shoots up to the #1 ranking, up 11 spots, and is doing it because it's actually appealing to the game playing audience. I think these summer skins are the biggest advantage for it. It's the thing that's attracting the game player audience, where the people that were once kind of detached from the game, they come back and they play this game, and it's just not that. They're revamping the skills of the characters, so much so that it's attracting people back into the game. For me, I like the change they did to all the character skills. It gets you more engaged into the game. It kind of changes the dynamics of the game, and that's just showing that it's a dedicated core group of developers producing content to actually keep you interested in this world. And I think that's something that's lost on a lot of these new games that have been coming out these past few years, where they're not interested in keeping the gamers engaged. They're interested in teaching them a lesson. And I think that's the thing I'm loving about this game right now. It's capturing your attention. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We're going to talk about Phantom Blade Zero. That game doesn't disappoint me. That's a game I almost forgot to mention. We're going to talk about that afterwards, after this, because I didn't prepare for that. But yeah, I have to bring up Phantom Blade Zero. That looks like an amazing game. So we have all these games coming out, and I think Marvel Rivals doing this is probably the best example of what we've been seeing, where a studio is paying attention to the gaming audience and they're listening to them, for better and for worse. And for worse, why I say for worse, we saw a recent controversy around one of the characters, Storm. And of course, if you know anything what happens with Storm is a character a lot of people believe is super popular. And her popularity precedes herself, and people expect her to get these legendary, expensive skins with different animation types. And it's just not happening with this character in Marvel Rivals. And people complain about that, saying, hey, isn't this racist? We're getting all these different character skins. We're not getting Storm skins. This is absolutely racist. Something must be done about it. And that is just the conversation we see on Twitter, specifically Black Twitter, when it comes to these Black Marvel Rival characters, where there's always a conversation of racism online. And I think this is the part where it gets me a little bit annoyed with the conversation about some of these characters, where clearly, if you look at the win ratio or the pick rate for Storm, she's at like the bottom too. She was bottom. She was at the very last for a while, but I think Johnny Storm ended up there eventually. So it's not even racist. People just don't pick flyers. People don't pick Storm or Johnny Storm. These are not characters people like to play as, so they're not getting legendary skins. Same thing with Johnny Storm, but nonetheless, everyone's going to pick up a racist battle, and that's what we're seeing happening with Storm right now, where everyone's coming up with their own racist claims, stating that, hey, this is complete and obvious blatant racism. We have to change this system within Marvel Rivals of kind of dissuading minority people from playing this game. This is the kind of nonsense that we see in this kind of space occasionally from people that just want to see their characters get their way. And I think this is what we see with Storm. But me in general, I never thought Storm was popular. I think that's just my personal perspective. I think I see it in Black Twitter. People say Storm is a popular character, and that's understandable. I can see that people think she's a great character, but beyond that, I haven't really saw that many Storm fans for at least specifically in different forms, different groups. I'm like, Storm is a character people like, but it's not a character people absolutely put on that pedestal. I think this is the same thing we saw with Wonder Woman, where Wonder Woman is being treated as like the number 3 best DC character. I'm like, not really. She's probably in the top 10 at 10, but even then she might be in the top 15, and she's at 15. There's so much other characters people love way beyond Wonder Woman, and she's not even top 5 or even top 15. And I think that's the situation we're seeing with Storm, where she's not the most lovable X-Men. She's a good X-Men character, but she's not the X-Men character people love the most. She's in the top 15, but she's not really in the top 10. I think that's the thing people have to kind of come to bear with, that, hey, Storm is not that popular. But that is just my personal opinion. People really love Storm online. But she's not Wolverine, she's not Cyclops, she's not Magneto, she's not Professor X, she's not Gambit. She's not all these different characters. There's so much characters that people love way beyond Storm. Yeah, the place that I liked Storm was X-Men 97, not X-Men 97, X-Men the 90s TV show. That's where Storm, I think she truly shined as a character. Everywhere else is just like Storm's like, she's okay. The comic books, she has her spots. But for the most part, I'm like, Storm is not that popular. She's not that great of a character. But yeah, and that was the shining moment for Storm. And I understand because of the 90s show, I want to see Storm in a more powerful position, the character. So I'm hoping to see that. But I don't even trust Storm with these modern day writers with Marvel. It's just going to be probably a half ugly actor that is not interesting to look at. And they're going to put her as Storm. And it's not going to be that good. I feel like will be the case. Same thing that we saw with Black Panther, the Sun. I'm like, okay, they're not even putting people that are interesting to look at as these roles, so I can't really expect much from them. But yeah, I think you're right. You're right, Info Warrior. She was extremely strong, she was like a nuclear bomb. So I like Storm, but Storm is not that popular. I play Storm in Marvel Rivals sometimes, but I get bored with her. I'm like, man, she's boring. I rather like Blade better than Storm. So I think Blade is probably higher than Storm. If you have the Marvel superhero rankings, Storm is might barely make the top 50 for real. There's too much good Marvel characters. She will make the top 50. She will barely make the top 30, I would have to say. Top 50 is a little too much. Storm is better than at least 20 people. She can make the top 30. Yeah, they made her look like a linebacker in the 97 one. Although I kind of like the first season of X-Men 97. I just know it's going to become something trash, so I didn't really want to put too much effort or passion into it. I know they're going to ruin it, so I had my low hopes and expectations for them, so I was like, no, thank you. But yeah, these people want Storm to dominate. Let's see what this person says. This is one of the people complaining online about the racism in Marvel. Let's just see.
That's messed up. And then you want to...
What? This is a guy. This person looked like this person looked like they're transitioning. I was like, is this a girl or guy? But obviously they're a guy. Let's hear them out.
Are you serious, Rivals? Love you down, but you're going to make two characters.
It seems like it's always a black gay person that really loves Storm too. For me, that's the part where I'm like, okay, man, what's going on here? So a really fat with black someone that's really fat or someone really gay. That's Storm's fan base apparently. I guess that's why I stayed away from Storm. Like, whoa, I don't want to be in any of these groups, so I'm gonna back away from Storm. But let's continue on.
Wanda and Magic, who already have tons of legendary skins, the legendaries of this pack, and Storm, who has one legendary skin released at, I don't even know, like 2 freaking years ago. You're gonna make her the epic skin, Rivals? That's messed up. And then you want to make her video the last video that you guys released before the skins come out, like egging us on, like hyping us on, like hoping that it's a legendary. Like, come on, like this could have easily been a legendary too. Like, it's not like it doesn't have the makings for a legendary. Mind you, all the other girls like who have summer skins are also legendary skins. Why is she the only epic? It needs to be called out. At this point, it's not even us Storm mains complaining. Like, this needs to be called out. Y'all are wrong for this. Y'all are wrong for this. As a Rivals partner, y'all are wrong for this. I think the egging us on, like, hoping, making her video the last one, like, that is so, like, you know what you're doing. That's wrong. That is wrong, and I'm calling it out.
Alright, we heard enough from them, man. This is why I'm not a Storm fan. This is the exact reason. This person reminded me why I'm not a Storm fan. Because I remember all the Storm fans, usually a little fruity or they're massively obese. So I stayed away from Storm fans. And this person reminded me, like, okay, yeah, that's why I wasn't That's why I wasn't really rocking with Storm like this. It felt like everyone that wanted to do some that was into some like sort of cross-dressing thing. They love Storm. So I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want to be with the Storm. I don't want to be around Storm fans. But yeah, they kind of messed up Storm. So
you know what?
And when it comes down to it, it's just not making money. I think I explained this in my video earlier today. It's just not making money. Even I have like random Psylocke skins that I get for some reason because I like how it looks. So I'm just buying a Psylocke skin. It's just not happening with Storm. Storm is just not really a good character to play as. I think they need to make her a more fundamentally entertaining character, and they are trying. They revamped the character to make it more impressive for the game players to play as, and I think it is, but it's just kind of slightly improved her ranks above Johnny Storm, so it's not doing too much. And Marvel Rivals is already copping please. It's saying, hey, we're gonna release a more legendary skin, and we hope you buy it. And of course, when I hear this conversation about getting more expensive skins, I'm like, okay, of course Marvel Rivals is gonna help out and try to make a legendary skin. It wants you to pay $16 for a skin. So this is just capitalism right here. You hear your fans saying they want to pay more money for a skin. Of course you're gonna oblige them, so they gotta do that. I don't blame them for that. It's just straight up business right there, and I think that's the thing we can't really hate on them for doing for the most part. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see gaming actually come up with some wins now, and I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of the video games coming out nowadays, where we're getting a lot of wins in the gaming industry. Of course, I think we're getting a lot of losses as well. We have what's coming up with Wolverine, Insomniac. I think that's going to be a loss in general. But I think what we're seeing with some of these other games coming out are absolute positives. And I think the biggest one has to be what we're seeing with Phantom Blade. Phantom Blade is the game that is really catching everyone's attention. It got my attention for the most part. I'm looking to see where it is. There we go. The pre-order trailer, and yeah, it's a game that is really exceeding people's expectations, especially a lot of the motion capturing, everything oriented in the game is specifically showing that, hey, these Chinese developers are really putting in effort. And I think this is the danger that we're seeing in the gaming industry today for a lot of game developers. They don't know what's happening out in the East, and Phantom Blade is one of those games that got Chinese backing from the government right after the success of Black Myth Wukong. Of course, it was in development before that, but once they saw the success, the government saw the success of Black Myth Wukong, they said, hey, we're going to put more money into our video gaming space. That is a huge influence to have. Western gamers absolutely love your game and be welcome into your culture and kind of make affinity with your culture. And I think that's what Black Myth Wukong did, and it's leading to massive investment from the Chinese government. And this is one of the biggest beneficiaries of this, where we heard they put millions of dollars into the development of this game, and they kind of made it come out even quicker. And I think that's what we're seeing with Phantom Blade Zero, where its release date has been updated. We're getting it sooner than later, and they're releasing some interesting trailers here that are capturing people's attention. It just feels like the creativity in the East is still vibrant and alive. I know people are going to say they stole some scenes and directions from old games, and we see that from a Wolverine game, so people will say this is a contradiction, but I don't think it's a contradiction when you have a game developer adding their own cultural kind of slice into it, and it really catches your attention when a developer is actually paying homage to their own culture and not really desecrating or making a disrespectful sign against its own culture. And I think that's what we see with Wolverine, Spider-Man, Insomniac. It just feel like desecrations of American culture and values. So it doesn't really feel like something that is kind of respectful. It just feels like something disrespectful, while this feels like a complete respect to its own culture. And I think that's the thing we see from a lot of these Chinese games, where they're really respecting the culture and world that they're in because they're from it, and this is the thing they want to share to the world. And I think that's the thing I feel from these games, where they really put the effort into them, and you can feel the effort and the creativity, and the things they steal or borrow are kind of healthy additions to those games. And I think that's what we see with Phantom Blade Zero, where people are going, yes, I want to play this game. This game seems like it's made with passion and respect, and that is a hard thing to come by. And I think that's the thing you don't see with the Wolverine game. It's not really made with passion. It's made with kind of this disengaged overview look on, hey, I want to show you how to understand and play these games, and we're going to make it simple, and you're going to understand the values I want you to value, and you're going to disrespect the things I want you to disrespect. And I think that's the thing that we don't see here, at least with Phantom Blade Zero. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's just my thought process overall about the dynamic between these two games, because we're always seeing kind of these strained reactions to the modern day gaming environment, where the East is just making cool games, the West is just trying to make lectures. And I think that's what we see, although covertly, with Wolverine. Yeah, I saw that Agents of Chaos and Donnie Yen look. I thought the clip might be in here, so we'll see a little bit of it. Oh yeah, no disc. I forgot there's gonna be no disc. But yeah, it's still a total chud win. I think you got Donnie Yen. There's gonna be no woke stuff. It's just gonna be pure fun. Dang, you just abandoned them horses. Like, save yourself, horse. It's like, oh, what the heck? We just saved you. It's like, I saved myself. See you later. All right, let's watch this. Let's watch this. I've been yapping too much. You can call me the yapper.
God.
You're finally here.
Okay, I want to see
Late
this.
again.
Some good voice acting. Some good
I never
models.
thought, in the end, you'd be the only one who still cares whether people live or die. The Mandate's leaders don't care about ordinary people. The merciful Lady of the Veil doesn't care either. Zuoshang's order no longer upholds its rules. Nor does he care about the people of the Wulin. The peddlers, the laborers, the elderly, and the children. Who's left to protect them? And somehow, only you, with so little time left.
So I'm that type of guy.
It's time for my last battle.
Someday, I'll roam the Wulin with you and be a hero.
Always gotta add some cool animation.
I travel the land collecting rare treasures and relics.
The name's Forge. I serve under Lady Ananis as an artisan.
Wow.
Taking
Impressive.
you on that ride was worth it. Every bit of it.
Finally, you're here at last. I've been waiting forever.
I'm already loving all the characters I'm seeing.
The three of us spent most of our lives fighting for the Mandate. We thought ourselves heroes, only to realize...
Hey, to each their own Chinese culture. Some people might not like it, but it is what it is.
It was all
Exactly, Agents of Chaos, some of these characters.
one beyond the grasp of ordinary men, a power beyond reason. Its source, it's from...
What the heck? Chainsaw head.
Another victim.
of my blade. Yours
Tell this game's gonna be hard.
is mine.
Watch closely. I'll strike only once.
My fists strike only the strong.
Yeah, we got some actual fist fighting.
Who's controlling me? Kill! Kill! Shadow Sovereign never told me to do this.
But I'll make you do it.
I would give everything.
Whoa, what's going on with her?
Merciful lady.
This was my mistake.
That actually looks like a fun
I
fight.
have to make it right.
Puppet woman. You damn puppet.
That's some good voice acting there. Alright, I don't know if I'm pre-ordering, but I'm gonna get it eventually, so I'm just strongly against pre-orders right now, so this is the Donnie Yen character. Ooh, nice.
Extinguish the flame. See what burns beneath.
Dang! Ooh, okay, this looks pretty good.
True steel.
I gotta say, this looks good, this fight. This might have sold me. I might have to pre-order it.
No shadow. Yet it moves
Ooh.
through all. That's the path to know.
Who are you?
Show me your strength.
Dang.
And the answer.
$12.29. Whoo! Oh man, I'm gonna be busy that day, unfortunately. Dang. But maybe I'll be able to play it later on, hopefully. But dang, I might not be able to play this online, unfortunately. Dang. I was hoping to play this online or streaming. Dang, I might have just saved that for GTA 6, but I might definitely play this game. PlayStation. Oh. Alright, let's leave that there. Yeah, I did a good job of showing the entire game. I like it. It kind of sold me on the game. I'm kind of sold on the game already. Before I was a little shaky. I was like, I don't know, man. I'll wait until I see the reviews. Not IGN reviews, just reviews from people that I know that play video games. So that I was waiting for that, but I might just have to get it. So that's just my position now. I'm like, okay, this looks pretty good, so I might have to just get the game. But let's see, where are we? Oh yeah, Saber Interactive. This is another story I found interesting that's happening in the gaming industry, where a lot of game developers are not really scared to say, hey, I'm using AI and I'm firing people and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what we heard from Saber Interactive. The CEO just straight up said, hey, we're firing people and we're not really feeling sorry about it. I think that's a rarity that we see in the industry, the tech industry in general. I think only Oracle is the only company that does that in the tech industry, that just fires people one night and just says, whatever, we just fired you, we're moving on. This is what we're seeing specifically into Saber Interactive and these companies that recently just got their freedom. If you don't know about Saber Interactive, they just bought their freedom from Embracer Group. They were once owned by the Embracer Group. This is the Fame group that owns the Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider rights. It owns the Lord of the Ring video game rights, even the movie rights. Embracer Group owns a bunch of games and properties. They produced the Saints Row game that was trash and a failure. They made a bunch of trash games in these past few years that are massive failures. And Saber Interactive is one of those companies during its round of bankruptcy that bought itself out. And I think that freedom lends itself to a lot of freedom of speeches that we're seeing from the CEO of Saber Interactive, where he's like, he has no apologies to these writers, these people that he deems as failures at the company, which is kind of refreshing to see a CEO directly say, hey, you guys were terrible and we're kicking you out and we're using AI to replace you because that's how useless you were. I'm like, whoa. That's a little bit harsh for me. I wouldn't go that far, but I like the honesty from him. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Saber Interactive CEO Matt Karch, who talks about lead writer. I think it makes more sense because the lead writer was talking trash about him, saying they're using AI, they're an evil company. He's like, yeah, we're using it, and you were kind of terrible at your job. And that just shows why we have to use AI. And this is kind of harkening back to what we've been seeing with the Wolverine game and the terrible writing for a lot of these properties coming out. I'm like, I can't really blame them. There's a lot of bad writers, a lot of people in positions of power within the gaming industry that just constantly get a leg up into the game industry, fail upwards, and they're never fired. And I think we only see this firing happening in particular because the CEO, Saber Interactive, bought his own company back from Embracer Group, and now he has the freedom to actually fire and hire people that he wants at his company. And I think that's what we're seeing right now play out with these terminations and layoffs, where some people with their freedom are using it aptly so to kick out influences that have been dirtying up the industry for so long. And I think that's exactly what we've been seeing with Saber Interactive these past few years. Let's read what he actually wrote out to the writer. He wrote out directly to the writer after a statement saying, Stella, who had to ask Claude because I have never spoken to her or seen her. We've already said we are using AI for certain parts of the game. We will update the Steam page once we have finalized the feature set. Let me clarify that the entire story script where we're to win an award will go to someone who can walk up on stage and receive it. It was always our intention to reveal this until Stella violated her confidentiality clause and revealed this before we were ready. We look at our use of AI in this particular game, which will be a lower price title as a plus for consumers. As far as Stella is concerned, she was replaced by someone more talented and terminated for a variety of reasons a few months later. From what I can gather, she enjoys controversy even more than I do. I would frankly, in retrospect, have been happy to replace her with AI. At least we would be dealing with someone programmed, to be honest. And this is kind of hilarious. I just think the sort of people we've been seeing at the game company these past few years perfectly reflect what we've been seeing with Stella. I think the interaction with Stella, she came out a few days ago claiming they were using AI, they're a terrible company. I think the CEO's response, even though it was a little bit outlandish, is perfectly kind of sets the tempo of what he wants for his company, where he's just saying, yeah, we don't want these sort of people that fail upward, that contribute nothing and bring down the company at our company. And I think this is what we see with Insomniac as a whole. Insomniac is one of those companies that are absolute failures out there. Okay, dang, I didn't see that donation there. Thank you, Benjamin Altman. Please react to an honest review of Woman Suffrage by Basic Logic for the first video. Watch with Watch this with I was gonna go who introduced me. Okay, let me check that out. Let me see. We'll see this. We'll watch that after I finish this topic, but we'll go right into it. Benjamin Altman, thank you for contributing, and yes, we'll watch that right after this topic. I'm almost done with this topic anyway, so. But yeah, this is the thing that we've been seeing, we've been hoping for in the gaming industry, where these CEOs start laying off people because these people are not contributing anything to the gaming industry, and we really need this sort of cleansing. And I think this is only possible because Saber Interactive, they bought their own company and they're actually trying to produce games that people want to play now. Saber Interactive, they're working on the Knights of the Old Republic remake. Of course, I'm tired of remakes, but seeing it coming from a developer that is not scared to dunk on these people that have destroyed their gaming industry or they're part of the gaming industry, I think that's a positive sign to me that they're not going to censor or kind of destroy that remake. And I think that's the thing I just want to see from remakes. Remake something, make it look good. Don't destroy the past game with modern day nonsense. And I think hearing Saber Interactive do this with some of their employees is a good sign for the gaming world. But yeah, let's look up this video here. Give me a second. All right, let's see. Base Logic. I haven't seen it before. All right, it's not too long. All right, let's get into it. And I'm almost out of topics anyway, so I only have 2 more topics to do after this, so might as well watch a video. So bear with me, let's watch it. It looks interesting. I think I may have known some parts of the subject, but we'll see. Maybe I don't. I just like pretending I know everything, so maybe I really don't know this. So let's see. All right, 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Women are capable of many things, but voting well doesn't seem to be one of them. In their defense, men don't vote that well either, but are still considerably better on average. In this video, we go over the political gender gap, the causes behind it, and some ancient wisdom to give an honest review of women's suffrage. And if you enjoyed, consider subscribing, it helps the channel. First, let's get some basic things out of the way. Contrary to propaganda, we do not live in a patriarchy. Collectively, women have more power in the West than men do. We live in democracies where everyone can vote, and women both outnumber men and have a higher voter turnout.
That's another truth right there.
If women voted as one united bloc, they'd win every election. Secondly, women control education through sheer numbers, and as anyone of my generation can attest, will often force their politics down children's throats. Thirdly, women control the professional environment through HR, again through numbers, to the point where we've even had cases of HR ladies on social media openly saying that if you post right-wing content, they won't hire you and they will ruin your reputation with other companies.
I remember seeing that HR lady. I'm like, this is truly the biggest. I think the biggest influence that we see in the gaming industry today, specifically these HR influences. Just being in the corporate world, you realize, okay, all parts of this industry are captured, and specifically if you get into these HR rooms or specifically minority cultures, you realize, whoa, your whole future is up in the air. It may be snatched away because some people might have an animus against you specifically, and I think that's what we see with these HR femme-centric cultures. So it's just this hitting a chord with me, but let's continue.
And lastly, the consistent pro-woman bias in family courts have given them asymmetric leverage in marriages. The only power men still have in our societies are reactive. They have the power to use force, for obvious reasons, which they simply don't nowadays, and they have productivity, because despite of all the efforts we went through to get women into the workforce, they have not occupied the essential jobs that keep society running. And I doubt the endless Zoom meetings would be missed. So men could theoretically go on strike, refuse to maintain essential services, and force change. But as long as the status quo remains, women collectively are in charge. So what have they done with all this power? The Greek playwright Aristophanes, referred to as the father of comedy, wrote a play 2,400 years ago where he predicted the outcomes of what would happen if women took control of politics, called the Assembly of Women. His predictions included massive welfare expansion and equity focus, enabling free riding and draining the treasury, hostility to private property and private relationships, erosion of the family unit with the state as a substitute provider.
Wow, I never even heard of this philosopher before, but he really nailed it 2,000 years ago. That is just crazy to see that sort of focus. But of course, Greek culture, the philosophers back then were excellent, but he really nailed it on the head. Expansion of welfare, of course, the hostility to private property, anything against a family. Oh man, this is just crazy. Let's just continue. I want to hear more.
Weakened commitment, chaotic dating markets, and ironically fiercer female competition, as well as the punishing of masculine traits leading to more effeminate men. Aristophanes was eerily prescient, with modern voting data showing women, on average, strongly backing the patterns he warned about. An 8 to 15 point swing over men in favor of increasing welfare beyond its already extensive size, a 20 point swing in favor over men in support of increased gun control, and as much as a 15 point swing over men in favor of mass immigration. And perhaps something not even Aristophanes would have predicted, 56% in favor of killing their own unborn kids for any reason. A 15 point gap compared to men. Looking at the downstream social effects, declining families, rising spending, polarization, Assembly of Women feels less like satire and more like a warning. There are two clear patterns here. Firstly, many women are clearly voting to use the state as a substitute husband. Instead of men protecting and providing for their families, the state does it. But the irony is, the state can only provide for them by taking resources from men. After all, the state itself does not produce anything. In essence, this is a form of forced disenfranchisement against men. Men's naturally advantaged ability to protect and provide was once leverage for them in the dating market. Leverage they could use to get a higher quality spouse. But by these being forcefully taken from them and given for free to women, men's value and agency have been vastly reduced. One of the only things nowadays that men get to keep entirely for themselves is their own physical attractiveness. Historically, physical attractiveness is a trait women would use for more leverage in the dating.
Yeah, you're right, Benjamin Altman. People were smarter back in the day than we give them credit for. We like to think that nowadays we're at the peak of intelligence as a society today. Nah, those Romans, those Greek philosophers specifically, some of the old ancient Chinese philosophers, they understood this as well, where it's just become obvious. Whatever we see today was obvious to them 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. So we're not really the smartest people out there. It's just crazy. The only thing I would say I want to add in this video, I really don't think it's specifically. I think it is women, but it isn't. Who's behind them? I would have to say. I'm like, it has to be a man using this to their advantage. I'm like, okay, this is not only them. This is someone is using this to their advantage to grab power, and I think that is the thing that we're seeing, where this situation is being weaponized against the majority of men by another man to take advantage. Who that man is, I don't know. I don't know who they are, but they're doing it, and it's ruining society. That is just my conjecture. I may be wrong. I'm not a Greek philosopher from 2,000 years ago. I don't have the foresight of that. So, but let's get back into the video.
Market. But since that's all that men have left for themselves, it explains the recent trend of men becoming so obsessed with their appearance, and as a result becoming more effeminate. People blame dating apps and social media for the extreme focus on male appearance, but the fact that so many other aspects of masculinity have been forcefully substituted by the state seems like the greater cause. Since men are now less incentivized to acquire the necessary masculine skills to protect and provide, they'll do so less, and focus instead on more rewarding feminine traits, and as such the state will have less and less masculinity to draw on, ultimately leading to less provision and protection for society over time, as we're already seeing. There's some nuance though, because while women generally have been treating the state as a substitute husband, there are certain groups of women who will absolutely not vote this way, and in fact despise this behavior. That is, women who themselves have long-lasting successful relationships with men. This is intuitive. The less successful a woman is in establishing a strong private relationship with a man, the more likely she is to try to use the state to redistribute masculinity towards her. Meanwhile, if a woman is successful in that pursuit, the less likely she is to want to share her man. This is effectively the libertarian versus welfare debate, except proxied through relationships. As such, societies that encourage promiscuity, polygamy, and non-commitment are effectively a form of socialism for undesirable women. As men and women continue to drift apart and fail to establish long-standing relationships, the more appealing this form of socialism becomes for them. This again mirrors Aristophanes' prediction, where in the play the assemblywomen forced men's attention to be shared with less desirable women. The second pattern of female voting is supporting whatever the current thing is. I gave you the stats about modern-day voting issues, where you see women giving significantly more support to liberal mainstream ideology that we've all been taught in school.
Now that makes me scared about the future if what you say is true Ages of Chaos. Because back then, they had to rely more on their own strength. They didn't have the technology that we have today. And if you add to what type of technology we have today compared to what we had like 20 years ago, just how much dumber will we be in the future, especially with AI and all this other stuff. We're not going to be able to have this sort of philosophical discussion that this Greek philosopher had 2,000 years ago while making a play for entertainment purposes back then. So that is just we already see the massive decline in intelligence just based on this guy's practice right here. So it's completely staggering the differences that we see from 2,000 years ago, and plus the time condensation with just how fast technology is rapidly developing and how that influences us. We're gonna get dumber quicker. So it's just thinking about that is scary.
But if we rewind the clock some decades back to when liberal mainstream ideology, that's about modern-day voting issues, where you see women giving significantly more support to liberal mainstream ideology that we've all been taught in school. But if we rewind the clock some decades back to when mainstream institutions were conservative, you'd see women being more conservative than men. Why? Because it was the current thing. Women are, on average, more agreeable than men. A consequence of agreeableness is the fear of going against the perceived consensus. As such, women operate less as independent voters, but rather as parrots of institutions. If the dominant institutions are conservative, women will broadly be conservative. If they're liberal, women will broadly be liberal. Naturally, parroting the dominant opinion is not helpful in politics, and actually reinforces political entrenchment, facilitating corruption, lack of scrutiny, and dogmatism.
It's really just them being survivors at the end of the day. Like something I learned of, I don't want to mention that person's name, but yeah, they're just trying to survive. It's just naturally, that's what a woman in any sort of position you put them in, it's just a survival instinct. I think that a lot of them have, where even back in the past, where during like some savage barbarian times, some tribe may come and just kill all the sons and husbands, and they have to adjust to that new crowd of people, and they're gonna be having intimate relations with other people. And it's just, that is just the relationship, their relationship with the world. They have to go with the ebb and tide of different powers. And I think this is something, as a young man, it's hard to understand, but I think it's something you quickly grow an acceptance with. Like, okay, this is just their survival instinct. And I think that is something that a lot of people fail to understand or wish to understand. They want to ignore this part of reality where, like, hey, this is them surviving, and you gotta kind of adjust to that reality. And I think once you adjust to that reality, maybe you have concepts where like, okay, maybe they shouldn't be in that position because they have this kind of mental position where it's about survival and following the trends of what's safe. So of course they're gonna go to be more liberal if that is the majority. And if they see the majority swing to being mostly Sharia law Muslim, most of them are gonna be in that camp, in that section, because they have the more power. And I think that is a situation people have to realize, just with the different personality traits of different genders and different even different races, different people. It's just people have their different traits, and we have to realize, okay, there's some differences here that can lead to have a detrimental effect on society, specifically if you put them in positions where they can influence society in that direction, where they're going to just follow who's stronger. And that is just a natural thing. What will make them survive quicker? And if it is the liberal dogma, that will be the case. That will be the thing that they will choose. If it's a Muslim dogma, that will be the thing they choose. And I think that's the thing a lot of people have a hard time, especially if you're a young person. Like, no, she will love me forever. She will be there. She will choose. She will do this and that. It's just not the case, young fella. It's just not the case. But let's go on with this video.
A deeper issue of suffrage is its effect on the family unit. In healthy societies with strong families, husbands and wives are aligned. They'll vote the same, making the extra votes redundant. However, now you have the political incentive to appeal not to families, but to individuals. And if your platform is generally more appealing to women, especially single women, but not to men, you are now incentivized to push policies that sabotage or delay family formation, or to get wives to vote against their husbands, which causes marital rifts and has happened in recent campaigns. After all, as we've established, generally women in successful marriages will not vote for the state as a substitute husband, thus diminishing your power. This means that at best, women's suffrage is largely redundant, and at worst, it politically incentivizes the subversion of the family, and therefore the future of your nation. Additionally, this is a weakness that's unique to women's suffrage, as while you can somewhat use the state as a substitute husband through the roles of protector and provider, the state is incapable of providing men with what they'd want from a wife. The market, on the other hand, fully exploits single men. But that's a topic for another day. So here's my honest review of women's suffrage. We're now in a situation where family formation is at an all-time low, reckless government spending at an all-time high, men and women are lonelier and more depressed than ever, dominant political institutions are more entrenched than ever, and every single policy that led to these outcomes are consistently upheld by the female vote. In a way so predictable, the ancient Greeks were laughing at us over 2,000 years ago. 0 out of 10 would not recommend opening a door for total societal collapse again.
It makes you wonder, where will we be in the timeline, because there's no turning back. Unfortunately, I think, of course, a lot of people will be mad to hear that, but there is really no turning back. This horse is running off the cliff right now, and it's not like you can go back and change the laws. And it seems like maybe you can. I just don't think we're in that societal state right now where people will invite you going back and changing the laws and taking rights and stuff like that. No one really is in that mind state for that, such a consequential shift in society terms. So it's just kind of watching a train crash, kind of like what you see in England with the immigration crisis. Even in Spain, I think Ceuta, that land area in Spain where the bunch of Moroccan civilians ran through, and you see a video of like one Spanish girl waving in all the Muslim immigrants into the town. It's like, what are you doing? These guys are gonna smash your head and may violently assault you. But it doesn't matter. They have their mind set on this certain perceived way society should be, and they see the more dominant male archetype rushing in, and they just invite it in because they're inviting in the stronger half, what they perceive to be the stronger and more allowed half. And they see these liberal democratic societies like in Spain allowing these people to take over the city, the country. So it's just like, okay, this is the stronger part, so I'm going to align with them. and it's just leading to disaster. So it's just like, what can we do? We see it happening in Europe, we see it happening in England, we see it happening all over the world, where not all over the world really, but all over the European world, and some parts of Japan as well. They're starting to let that kind of chaos in. But that is just reflection of what society is today. I wonder what's going to be the swing. I think there's going to be a swing in maybe the extreme direction, where people are going to have a rapidly negative response to those people. Or we're just going to keep swinging on to the extreme, where we're not going to stop anything from happening with immigration or all these kind of negative connotations that we are seeing with suffrage and all this other stuff that's happening. Seems like it's just going to go on endlessly until all of society collapses. And I don't know if I want to be there to watch it, but I'm going to have to be there to watch it. And I just hope, I don't know what I hope will happen. I don't know. I just hope I have enough power to avoid all the chaos. But eventually that's kind of selfish. You just kind of have to, we have to finally say, hey, we got to say enough is enough. We got to change things ourselves. And who's the first person that's going to step up and do that? That is the crazy thing. And that kind of just, yeah, I fear for our children as well. I'm fearing. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, dang, what can I do to stop this? This is like, it feels like almost helpless. Like, dang, can there be anything to be done to stop this? And I think that's what people just shut off their brain. They're like, I don't want to hear about this. I know what's happening. I'm just gonna let it watch. I'm just gonna watch it happen, and hopefully it doesn't affect me. But I think that's kind of a bad stance to have. You have to do your part, and I feel like just talking about it is enough, but really not really just talking about it. You're gonna have to get out there and change things within society itself, and it's gonna have to be done through political movements. And I think people are going to have to open themselves up to that idea that they have to be more active locally all the way up to the federal level. Yeah, it's going to take coordination, and I'm not going to say protest or anything like that. No, it's going to take people coordinating together, getting into local offices, getting into these kind of managerial roles in society, where you can slowly but surely change these mechanisms where we can allow ourselves to voice these opinions and change the local machinery that allows these negative things to happen, and just turn them off. And I think that's the thing that we're going to see. And I think hopefully us putting it out there is a big step towards that. So that's just my mentality towards that, because we're seeing that happening right now in a lot of the elements in, of course, video gaming, and of course with some of these franchises out there. It is going to take a village to change things, and I think that's the thing that we see happening to people without a village. It's happening to Halo's iconic composer right here. I have this article right here about a Republican candidate for Congress. He's running for Congress, and he was just going to a reunion for the classic Halo franchise. And of course, him being on a political stance that is not favored by this governmental class of people, he's being canceled and kicked out and disinvited to his own reunion party. So it's just like, this is the thing that we see in this modern day setup in society. If you have the wrong opinion, you're going to be pushed out. And I think that's the thing that we see happening, where these mechanisms where you can't even go to a convention because that convention is captured. And I think that's what we're doing with this kind of call out of the video gaming space right now, where we're trying to purge the people that hold the mechanisms and machinery that allow things to go, where this guy going to a Halo reunion would be able to go because the people that are organizing that reunion have the similar ideals that you and me have. And I think that's the thing I see as the first step, where we kind of have to invade these mechanisms and machinery within entertainment, within these local governmental offices, where we can permeate our ideals, where we won't be disinvited wherever we go, where we can go to a Halo reunion because the people that run the Halo reunion think like us. And I think that is the mechanisms of power that we kind of have to infiltrate there. And I think that's the thing that this disinvitement from this Halo composer is a perfect reflection of that, where if he had people within that organization that thought like you and me, he would never be disinvited. And I think we have to get ourselves into positions of power where this guy, he can go wherever we are, where he can go to the Halo reunion, he can go to the convention, because people that think like you and me are at the convention, that run the convention, that have the Hollywood studio, that have maybe the journalistic website. We got to do those things where our power permeates the system and it's unavoidable. And I think that's what we see from these organizations that do the opposite, that have this liberal democratic vision that kind of holds its foot over the gaming industry. This is what we see from the Sweet Baby Incs. That have connections to IGN, to GameSpot, and all these other organizations. We have to have our own version where it permeates, and they can't really do anything to us because we own the levers of power. And I think that's the thing I find frustrating, where it's like, dang, we don't have the levers of power. We can't even go to a Halo convention. That is the demoralizing thing, where you can't even go to a convention space because these people have captured that as well, and you're cornered into these dark corners of the internet where you can't break out of it. And I think that's where they want us. They want us in these dark corners of the internet. And I think that's the thing where I feel about building a community. That's the main thing, where you can attach yourself and expand and maybe have some levers of power where you can now influence these organizations. You can be the organizations that have a foothold in the industry, that can capture the industry and push them out. That's why at one point I was seriously thinking, like, maybe I should start my own consultancy company or something like that. But I'm like, I don't know too much about that. I do know a little bit, but I'm like, maybe I should do something like that where I have the levers of power here, where I can push things in a certain direction and I can shut people out and open things up for people. And I think that's the thing we need here in this industry, because it's always happening where you think with the new elections and just the new people in power, things would change, but it's much of the same. And I think that's what we see with a lot of the situations in the industry. We see these false sense of powers. We see not really false sense of power. We see these real levers of powers being handed down to these people, and they can kick out one of the legendary composers of the Halo soundtrack like it's nothing, and they can just say, oh, because someone of the LGBTQ persuasion felt uncomfortable, so we had to kick them out. And it's just like, who cares about this staff? Kick out the staff member. This guy actually made the Halo soundtrack. What did the staff member do? He didn't make anything important for the legendary classic game. I think that's the ridiculousness of the situation, where we're kicking out people that actually contributed to the gaming industry for someone that contributed nothing. And this is the absurdity of the situation that we see in gaming, where people that actually have done something are being outclassed by people that have done nothing at all. And it's kind of infuriating to see this. And that's how I felt about this case right here. It's just like, wow. And he was trying to go to, let's read the article. Let's see what's going on. Give you the details. Marty O'Donnell helped give Halo one of the most recognizable sounds in the video gaming industry or history. Now the former Bungie composer says his political campaign has cost him a place at a 25th anniversary reunion celebrating the franchise. O'Donnell, the Republican nominee for Nevada's 3rd congressional district, said SAC Anime disinvited him from its upcoming Sacramento convention after concerns were raised about comments connected to his campaign. Of course, he's going to the Sacramento convention. This is what's going to happen in California, and I think this is where I say, okay, we really don't have any power within these states, specifically California, and it just shows that we got to really build up these conventions, these organizations that have that sort of influencing power ourselves, because it feels like these conventions will probably never change, and they're getting funding from sources that probably promote these ideals at their apex. So it's going to be hard to see any change within these organizations. But it's just a sad part of the gaming world being reflected back at us, that we can't really change as fast as we want to, and it's going to be a slow change if we do take action. I think we just have to deal with that slow change, put in our effort, and make things change gradually. Yeah, 343. That I heard they lost a bunch of staffers as well. So yeah, that makes sense. Yes, at least I know what a woman is. That and that is unlike what we're seeing in the WNBA. We should look at the WNBA. That is the absurd thing that we're seeing in the world today. Let's see. Royce White going into the WNBA, and I heard they had like a 5-hour meeting, the WNBA, about letting a lot of these people that just said they were trans and they want to join the WNBA. Former NBA players that are like 6'8", 6'11", are trying to join the WNBA, and that has caused a controversy for anyone that's been watching. And of course, the biggest person that's being a proponent of joining the WNBA is Royce White. Royce White, I remember him as a young player like years ago. I thought he was the next LeBron James, this sort of character. Too bad he had like some mental issues. He couldn't play in the NBA too long, so he kind of got out of it. But he was a really talented NBA player that just really couldn't find his stride because he was scared of like going on the planes and stuff like that. I was like, what are you doing? You can get like a $40 million contract if you just rode a plane. He was like, nope, I refuse. I'm like, okay, this is that guy, but okay, that's his prerogative. But now he's saying he wants to join the WNBA, and he's going fully into it. He has the wig on. He's speaking all the right words, and he's scaring the WNBA. You can see that with the WNBA having a 6-hour meeting and coming out with no hard focus on if they're going to let anyone in that recently announced that they want to be in the WNBA, specifically these NBA players. Another player was Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter is the next player that wants to join the WNBA. He's the first one that started it off. He's the one that got the attention of everyone. He actually did the legal troubles of trying to get into the WNBA, and he made it a specific goal of his to test the rules and boundaries of the WNBA, and he speaks about it right here.
I'm in my couch, obviously watching the WNBA because I love the game, and I was watching the post-game interviews, and one of the players came out and literally said, I welcome trans athletes in my team any day and every day. And she even said, there's no problem me going against a trans athlete. So I was like, that gave me an idea. I was like, if they don't have any problem with it, why not just go out there and take my shot and try to play basketball in WNBA? I mean, seems like the league itself and plus the players have no problem with it. The WNBA itself, players, and especially the coaches are the one that been advocating trans people playing in women's sports. So I'm not sure why am I getting all this backlash. They are the one encouraged me to do this. So for that reason, I want to play basketball.
And his cancer is gigantic. He can still dominate in the WNBA. He can dominate in any local league with a bunch of guys on the floor. He's not a nobody basketball player. This guy, he can shoot threes. I know people are going to say, oh, he didn't shoot that well within the NBA. Yeah, because that's the NBA. He's playing against real aggressive talented people all across the world, the most talented basketball players in the world. So he's not going to be a good 3-point shooter, but he can shoot. He can do a bunch of stuff. He can dominate. He has the weight on him. He's movable. This guy will destroy the WNBA, and I think that's the point he's making here. Of course, I don't think he's serious about this. He's not, at least not serious about being someone that's trans, but he's using their own logic against him. I'm wondering, didn't the WA think this would happen? I would think they would be forward thinking, but like we read about what was happening in the previous video from Base Logic down to women's suffrage, I think it illustrates the point where these people are just following wherever the power structure is going. The power structure is advocating for these kind of trans rights that we see within the WNBA. And I think that's where the movement is going, and they're just following it. The WNBA is a follower. It's following wherever this movement is going, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't have any logic of their own. They're just following what's this power structures in America today. And the trans movement apparently has a strong stranglehold within American society, and they feel like that power structure is something they cannot deny. So now they're just clueless. Like, what can we do? We can't let them in, but we can't really disrespect this LGBTQ power structure that we set up. They're powerful. They will destroy us more than a man playing in basketball. And more than anything, this probably affirms the people that actually believe in this thing. They believe if they do have these males kind of subjugate themselves to a feminine hierarchy or structure, they feel that's a win regardless, because they kind of want to see the just deconstruction of these patriarchal roles. And I think in their mind, seeing a man become a woman, even if it destroys the women in the league, that is a sign of a destruction of the patriarchy in their mind. So I think a lot of the feminists are inviting this in part to happen because they feel like it's a breaking down of the power structure that is overseeing them. And I think that is the twisted logic that we're seeing play out within the industry that seems kind of outrageous and not really logical, but I think we're dealing in illogical times right now. These are times where people are not dealing with some linear perspective on reality. These people are dealing with an unreality, a reality that's not real, and they're trying to construct it as they go along. And I think that's why we see that WNBA meeting was taking a long time. They're like, what can we do? We have to reference everyone. We have to call everyone and ask them, what can we do in this situation? I think we might end up seeing Enes Kanter and Royce White play basketball in the WNBA, because that only affirms the power structure that they want to destroy. And I think that's the craziest thing I think we might see. These people might actually play, because the logic of the WNBA is not a logic of women's rights. It's a logic of, hey, we want to destroy the patriarchy. So the best way to do that is destroy that masculine image. And I think destroying that masculine image, even if it destroys the females in the league, it doesn't matter. It's destroying the males as well, at least in their mind. I think that is a twisted logic. You have to think like a twisted person to understand this situation. I'm just trying to twist my brain. It's like, where are their logical leaps going? I don't know if how true it is, but I know it's crazy whatever the people in the WNBA is thinking. So I think we're gonna see Royce White. We're gonna see Enes Kanter. They're gonna have wigs. They're gonna be playing in the WNBA, and a lot of these activists in there, they're not gonna be complaining. And I think that is gonna be the chilling thing that we're gonna see. That would be really scary if they do let it happen. I know people think we're gonna laugh at it, but we're going to see the mental gymnastics and breakdown of people's minds within the WNBA, and it's going to be scary. You're going to really realize, like, oh, these people are out of their mind, and they're in a cult maybe, because they're destroying their whole league to make a point. And I think they may do it, and that is going to be a scary thing. If they can do that, they can do anything. They can twist their logic into anything else. And it's kind of like what we saw with the communist revolution. Their logic twisted so much until 150 million people died. So it's like, well, how much longer can they twist their logic? And that is the scary thing that we're seeing in society today. So I'm kind of scared of this a little bit. I know we're laughing, but I'm slightly scared. Yeah, I'm not gonna twist. I'm gonna untwist my mind. Let's get back into the real world. All right, what else do I got? I don't think I have anything else to talk about. Okay, we have God of War actor Kratos calls out Amazon for not using original cast and writers. And this is the thing we as gamers always complain about, like, hey, use the original writers, hey, use the original cast, hey, use the original things that actually work and make a video game actually functional and interesting to the gaming audience. Because the people that are going to watch the show are going to be gamers for the most part. They're the ones going to be hyping it and spreading the gospel of these games, of these adaptations. But oftentimes that's not the case with these adaptations. They're usually used as kind of a template so some terrible writer can write his own version of a story that he couldn't write without using this intellectual property. And this is oftentimes what we see in Hollywood, where a Resident Evil game is used as the backdrop of someone's own horror story that has nothing to do with Resident Evil. And we're seeing that happening today. Even though I'm excited to see that movie, it's someone just making their own movie without having to worry about being a brand new IP. And I think that's the thing we see often with these adaptations being made into bad IP. But let's see what the Kratos actor says directly.
My problem with all game adaptations, you have this pre-existing successful property, and the first thing you do is not hire anyone associated with it. The Last of Us, love Pedro. Were they better than the game cast? I saw a stage reading they did. It was unreal. I have no idea why you don't just take that cast, those writers, especially when you're going to do episodes that are shot for shot remakes of the game. When it was finally approved and announced, and they didn't hire any of the God of War writers. What are you thinking? Like, these guys have been immersed in this world for 20 years, but someone's going to know better? Between God of War and God of War Ragnarok and the previous games, how many copies has that sold? I guarantee you it's 1/100th of the audience of God of War. Yeah. So you can't tell.
Whoa, we got a donation here. Dang, where's my alert? My alert box, is it even working? I gotta fix these alerts. But thank you, Benjamin Altman, for the donation. I think that video was almost done anyways. How about we talk about Halo Combat Evolved? Halo Combat Evolved, I've mentioned before, the early new combat episodes they had for that game, of course, they were trash. They had that boss lady chick in it. Wasn't that good. I think for the most part, the Combat Evolved, of course, I like the new graphics, but it still felt like a modernized version. It felt like it didn't have the soul. I think that's what we see with a lot of these modernized, updated remakes, where it's just like the soul is kind of stripped out. That's the first thing to go, because the people that are creating it simply don't have that same excitement or just overall understanding of the franchise. And I think that's the thing we see. Of course, with some of these character models, some of the animations, especially Cortana, look like a random guy from YouTube. So it's just like, it just felt like they did all the things that stripped away some of the soul of the entire franchise. So it felt like a stripped down version without a soul. And I think that's the thing a lot of people feel about some of these remakes. It's not completely terrible because it's made off a classic game, so you can't be completely terrible. You're based on one of the most classic games in history, so it's gonna be fun regardless. And I think that's the scary thing. A lot of young people are gonna be playing this, and this is their experience, and they're just not gonna know about that spirit that was stripped away from this remake. So I feel like that's the sad part, where people are not even gonna know what's missing. And it's sad because what's missing is kind of the things that we saw in the past. Like, I remember there's like someone had a video where they're showing like they took out some commentary from the characters when they were yelling, when you're shooting. It's just like they took out some of the camaraderie that you see with some of the other people that you're fighting with. So it's just like, they kind of stripped everything out of it. So it's just like, and it's not even doing that successful. I saw some of the Steam numbers where it just looks like it's not even getting the numbers it needs to be a successful game. So that is the failure right there. Okay, Eva Big. I'm not gonna say that word. Streamer user did wasted time on Halo. Yeah, I played it a little bit, so I won't say how, but I played it a little bit and it was okay. It wasn't anything special though. Yeah, it's doing pretty bad online. But back to this Christopher Judge. I don't know. I don't think he's he's absolutely right about what's happening with these adaptations. But I'm a person that doesn't like the God of War 2018 adaptation. I think it's probably okay story experience, but for me, I just like the original God of War. So for me, I'm like, I don't know, I don't like that God of War. So would you want the original writers? But it was a successful game, so I understand you should bring back the original writers. There's a lot of fans of that game, so I would say yes, you got to do that. And I think that's just the problem with a lot of the video gaming industry today. But regardless of that situation, a lot of people are speculating Zack Snyder coming back for The Dark Knight. We're going to go over some quick stories real quick. I think this is a BS, but regardless, it just shows that James Gunn is in trouble, and I think that's what we already know, regardless of what's happening, especially after Spider-Man making almost $2 billion, is expected to make $2.5 billion. Yeah, you messed up, and I think that's what a lot of people are kind of fessing up to this industry right now, where it's looking pretty bad if you're not making something that is reaching Spider-Man numbers, at least half of Spider-Man numbers. And if you're making Superman and no one's really talking about your movie anymore after a few weeks, that is just you're in a bad position right now. And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling right now within the industry when it comes to this. But I would invite a Zack Snyder to come back. I don't know, I wasn't a big fan of some of his movies, but I have to say Man of Steel is better than what I've saw from James Gunn, so I'm excited to see what he does with Batman. Batman was pretty good too under Zack Snyder, so I'm excited to see where he goes if they do invite him back. Yeah, I had never believed this Spider-Man would make $2 billion. That's the most shocking headline I think I've seen so far, Spider-Man. And I keep seeing these Spider-Man brand new day edits. People are excited about Spider-Man. It's like never before. And it makes me think, what is the next sequel gonna do? Spider-Man might make $3 billion. Its next sequel. If you have Venom in it, you have all these other characters in it. It's just crazy. Brand new day is kind of reaching successes that no one could see as imaginable. I think that is a crazy thing that we're seeing right now with this movie, and I like the movie. I think it was a good movie for me. I know people don't like some parts of it, but for me, I just loved it. I enjoyed it. I just wanted to see Spider-Man, and that's what they did. And I think that's kind of the low bar we put ourselves in now, because we just want a movie that is just at least closely similar to the character that we will remember from comics and animation and cartoons. And I think that's the thing we get, especially the Spider-Man suit just looks absolutely amazing. That's just Spider-Man to me. And they got the Punisher there, you got Hulk. I'm like, man, I like this. They didn't hold back. They got us the experience that we wanted, and I'm excited to see where they go next. And I think the Shang-Chi director was good. I think the Shang-Chi director, I like Shang-Chi for me. I just didn't like the actors. I didn't like the main actors and actresses, but I think the movie itself was well directed, so it's nice to see him actually pull out a win and make something absolutely interesting and engaging. So $2.5 billion going to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Almost beating out Avengers. So, and this is just a movie with Spider-Man in it, and that's just showing Spider-Man is really the number one superhero in the world. It's undoubtedly so. So that is where we are today. Next up, we got Robert Pattinson. He's on a big run right now. Robert Pattinson. Oh, you're right about after Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon is absolutely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I think with Zack Snyder, you need to give him a writer, and he needs a producer to tell him no. And Zack Snyder will do good under those conditions. And I think if you get him the right producer and writer, Zack Snyder can still work out. And I think that's what we hope to see with him in the future, Agents of Chaos. But Robert Pattinson is on a deep run. I don't really have too much to say, but I just like this actor. I liked him in a movie called Good Times, so it's nice to see him actually get some wins, make some good content. and his Batman movie, I did like at least 1 hour of the Batman movie, and I know people are gonna say, "What are you talking about? It's a 3-hour movie." Yeah, that movie wasn't that good, but I did like him as Batman. I'm really looking forward to see what he can do. I liked him in Tenet, even though I hated Tenet. I like him in a lot of movies he's been in so far. So I'm hyped to see him actually continue on. I'm hyped to see Prime Time. It already has all these skits out there with it. Zendaya is the reigning supreme box office. I know people are making that complaint right there. That's obvious. Kind of a guilt by association. She's just the side character in every single movie right there. Now you got some casting stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. This is the former University of Cambridge professor. This is a controversial thing I saw happening that caught me off guard. This is a story I actually saw kind of developing, and it was interesting to see kind of the lies that we see building in universities. And it kind of makes me suspect that any university that is out there right now is compromised. It goes back to those levers of powers, and all the levels of powers are being held by people that are completely incompetent and trapped in ideological trends that they refuse to break away from. And that's what we're seeing happening with former Cambridge University professor, the once known as the youngest black professor at 39 years old, Jason Arday, who once was upheld to a high standard of being someone of academic courage and absolute certainty of a system that can see success if you are struggling. And that was the representation that he was supposed to be for the university, and ultimately it ended in kind of a tragedy. I know people want to laugh at this guy, and I would laugh at him if he wasn't dead, but he's kind of dead now. So it's just like, whoa, this kind of shows just when this kind of shows what happens when you put people in positions of power where they should have never been put in. And I think that's what happened with Jason Arday, where this guy was just a renowned liar, thief of ideas at least, and he kind of put him into a pedestal almost, a place where he didn't deserve. And him seeing that kind of stripped away pushed him in a corner that he really didn't need to be in, where if you just left him alone, didn't promote him that much, he would just probably be somewhere scamming someone else alive and not really in the position he's in today, which is probably going to be 6 feet under. But if you don't know the story, let's watch a video about it. I meant to look at this. I don't know too much about it myself. I just know the basics of it. But it's a controversial story that kind of developed over time that a lot of people are talking about right now. So let's see it, and this will be my last topic of the day. Let's hear it.
Hello everyone. You may well have heard about the death of Jason Arday. He's the black academic that's been at the forefront of this woke scandal with the University of Cambridge. I'm sure you all know the story. Very quick overview if you don't. Essentially, the claim was he's plagiarized a lot of work and has been artificially promoted on the back of many tall tales. And really, it's been symbolic of the damage the woke does within institutions and so on. It's been big news among the right and the left-wing media. Now, I think there are a few things to say here, but the main question, I think, is who killed Jason Arday? You might say there's one very simple answer to that, and maybe there is. Perhaps before I say anything else, though, it should be a reminder that many people who do act in bizarre ways in public normally are quite fragile beneath that, maybe quite unwell. We can forget that sometimes, perhaps. Maybe forget that with everyone. But that said, I do think the inquest will now begin. And by inquest, I mean the Liberals reworking the narrative to suit them. And I dare say it will be something like, innocent black man hounded by vicious anti-white right-wing media. I'm expecting that line from everyone, from the BBC to The Guardian to James O'Brien.
You're right, Agents of Chaos.
Jones and every academic and wokey from SOAS to Berkeley. There won't be much #BeKind and tolerance from them. Anyway, the central question here is who is responsible for this man's death, because it's an interesting question of modernity, of course. Now, as I said at the top, I'm sure many people will just say, well, look, it's Arday. It's the only person you can say, if, of course, this is as it seems, which is obviously the likely outcome. And in a brute sense, that would be true.
Well, let me see if there's anything else. Let me see. Do I have any other? Let me see the recent news about him. I want to get some basic recent news about him. Okay, I want to see some basic clips of him. Oh, they might copyright strike me. Oh, some of these channels. Yeah, I can't trust these channels. They're gonna copyright strike. But like I mentioned before, this guy, controversial figure, but I think he's just a representation of what we've been seeing in the world today when it comes to these figures that are elevated beyond their station. And I heard he got a bachelor's degree in physical education, and they promoted him into a PhD position about social studies or something like that. And he's supposed to be the iconic person of representation. And when you hear him speak, he just felt like he didn't really know or understand anything. But the people around him treated him like a child, like he was like a little kid that they want to raise up and use as an example of, hey, this is the example of these sort of people that can be elevated into positions of power that are representative icons. And this is the problem that we see all throughout the entertainment and gaming industry play out in the university system, where they raise someone up that had no skills prevalent to the things that they're working on. He was just someone they wanted to raise up into a power position where they could say, hey, this person is a representation that we can put out there and use almost like a pet. He was like a toy or tool to these organizations. And I think that's what you see with a lot of these people that are put in positions of power, where they're almost as tools that are often used to illustrate a point that they want to make to society, that, hey, this person can maybe go against these certain issues in their life here or there, even though there may be all lies. Because I remember they said he was autistic until he was 11, couldn't speak. He didn't graduate from any grade school until 18 or something, but he achieved all these achievements in his past life so quickly and became a PhD student through using other people's works and plagiarisms that they realized was the case, but they let him through anyways because they just wanted his representation and using him as some example of breaking a stereotype. And you can find these breaking of stereotype of people, but they usually don't have the similar ideas these people want to see represented. And I think this is the thing. This is the case with this guy, Jason Arday. He had the right ideas. It's not like he was a Clarence Thomas type of person. Clarence Thomas is a Supreme Court judge that's very Republican and conservative, but everyone hates him for it. So they don't want to use him as a representation icon. They want someone that has the same ideas they have. And it goes back to this guy. He was a social justice warrior type of person that believed in the sort of communistic ideals that we see today that are spreading throughout society. So he's the ideal person that they want to see representing their ideas. I keep saying ideas. Ideals. So I think that's the thing that we see about this guy, where the system crushed even him, where it elevated him to such a high position, and it effectively protected him long enough until he just kept lying so much. He was lying about being part of different universities, and those universities had to say, we don't even know who you are. He did this several times, and that happening several times completely embarrasses an institution like Cambridge. So Cambridge eventually had to respond and say, hey, you're lying about everything. And according to him, I think that was seen as abuse almost, where you let him lie about everything for so long. Of course, he might take some extreme measures. And I think that's what we saw with him, where he took some extreme measures, and now they're not here in this world. And I think that is the ultimate reflection that we're seeing right now happening in the university system, and we're seeing it happening all throughout entertainment. I think I just want to bring this up because it just brings us back to the people that are just ruining the entertainment space right now. It's all politics to them, and they'll elevate the completely incompetent, and they'll push them far ahead, even to the detriment of themselves, even until they destroy themselves. And I think that's where I have that kind of fear that I felt with the WNBA. I feel like the WNBA is going to do something similar, where it's going to go so far where it's going to destroy its own league, because the idea is worth more than the league itself, than women's rights, and all this other stuff. And I think that's what we're seeing play out, where eventually all these ideas are out there to destroy even the industries that they're supposed to be supporting. It's just crazy. And I think Jason Arday is that personification, that the idea matters more than the person. And I think that's what we're seeing play out, and it's kind of a scary thing. And I think that is the unfortunate consequence this person had to share, where he didn't realize he was just nothing but a tool in a toolbox for an elite class of people that didn't care if he lived or died, and he didn't realize it until probably it happened. So that's just my 2 cents. Let's see what the chat says. I just want to end it on this note. Thank you for joining in this chat. I promise I'm going to fix the alert box. I have to figure this out. The alert box is it's not going off. I'm like, what's going on here? But I'm going to fix it. And I want to thank everyone that joined me in this chat. I want to thank Ages of Chaos. Thank you for dropping by every single stream. Benjamin Altman, thank you for making all the donations and just adding in general to this topics. You're always adding some interesting videos, interesting topics for me to delve into, so it's always appreciated. Thank you to the new man, Iva Big. I don't know what I know what you're trying to do, Iva Big. I'm not going to say it, but I know what you're trying to do. I'm not going to do it. Thank you, Human User 1, for coming back, liking, seeing repeated people coming back into the chat. It's always a joy to see you come in here. Pause. It's always a joy to see you drop into the chat. But not too much new voices, new faces. But I really appreciate everyone coming in here. It's really fun. Info Warrior, thank you for dropping by. Anyone else? Let's see. Can't see. It's just Human User 1, Ages of Chaos. You're really giving a lot of support. Really appreciate you guys. Yeah, sorry. I started a little too early, Akari Toruto. You'll catch it later. Don't mind. Watch it in the playback. I'll be back here next Friday, same time as usual, around 5 p.m. Or 5 p.m. Pacific time, or 8 p.m. Eastern time. I might do it sometime earlier. 4 p.m. is a good time too, so I might come around that time. But thank you for dropping by, Akari Toruto. I'll see you next time. Don't worry. All right.